Time may be an illusion, but in late December, lists are a cold hard fact. So with only about 5 more seconds of further ado, here's my top games of 2022. Ever since I became able to afford numerous new games at once, I've tried to treat the hobby with the same balance as one's diet. A cerebral puzzler here, a brainless beat-em-up there, and a wholesome willy-nilly throwback for good measure. It's in the last of these categories that Tinykin joyously resides. Taking unapologetic inspiration from Pikmin and classic 3D collectathons, this indie gem places you in the role of a diminutive astronaut who crash lands on an Earth of yesteryear, populated exclusively by the titular denizens, who are his only hope of piecing his craft back together. There's little to no combat to speak of, but therein lies the simple pleasure. Running around, knocking down barriers, and cruising on zip lines entirely as the nearest shiny thingamabob compels, all of the attention deficit zeal of a child in a candy shop. With enduring graphics, a pet you score, and countless spur-of-the-moment opportunities for progress, it's easily the most addictive thing that I played in 2022. In an age of mature, contemplative, interactive dramas, it can feel like the crass, graphic action romp is a relic of the early aughts. But as developers Flying Wild Hog proved this year, there's still plenty of room in the gaming scene for guts, gunplay, and gross-out humor. Capping off the 2013 series reboot and its expanded yet overstuffed follow-up from 2016, Shadow Warrior 3 goes where most sequels dare not. Backwards. Not in excitement or humor certainly, but rather scale. There's no hub world, only a few distinct areas, and you can see credits within a couple of hours. Yet what hours they are, as blistering fast arena-based brawls, gonzo weapon and enemy variety, and non-stop goofball comedy from Lo Wang, aka Chinese Deadpool, make every moment a challenging yet breezy thrill. AAA boomer shooters ain't dead yet. A mysterious land fallen to colorful monsters. A charming little hero clad in green. A sword, a shield, and a satchel full of bombs and arrows. To gamers of a certain age, these simple components evoke powerfully cozy memories. And indeed, Tunic is a splendid isometric homage to classic entries in the Legend of Zelda series, plus a dash of contemporary Souls-like cunning in its ruthless bosses and fire-based checkpoint system. But at a much deeper level, and not just figuratively, Tunic is about the power of games themselves. I didn't beat Tunic, and I can't promise I will. Like I said, kind of a Souls-like. But it captures the same magic that got me into gaming, and has kept me there ever since its ancestors were fresh on the store shelves. The promise of a humble yet spectacular quest, with only the pages of a tattered old instruction booklet to guide my way. I'm a simple man. I see a surrealist biomechanical horror, I check it out. Such was the pitch and the execution for Scorn, a first-person shooter/puzzler inspired by the moist, metallic, mini-jointed works of artists like H.R. Geiger and Zhisha Beksinsky. The combat's kind of clunky, and what you're doing and why is as incomprehensible as the solutions to most riddles with which your pale, pitiable protagonist is presented. But what better way to embody the experience of trudging naked through a dying alien realm? If style and substance are the X and Y axis of a grid respectively, Scorn is about to fall off the eastern edge. But it's a nauseatingly memorable expedition through hell all the same. And I mean, how many games have a segment where you a mutant baby in a jar before in a blender, and then get crucified while your is being and a robot cuts off your and tears out... Oh yeah, I can't say any of that, can I? When it dropped in 2019, A Plague Tale: Innocence was downright shocking. A photorealistic, story-driven game without Sony Computer Entertainment on the box. It had a lot of flaws, too, from the hilariously dim enemy AI to the arbitrary logic governing stealth and puzzle sequences. All of the same can be said of A Plague Tale: Requiem, and yet it's a sublime case where a sequel far surpasses the original. Continuing directly after the events of the first game, Requiem smartly expands both its cast, with an array of well-acted and memorable new characters, and its settings, ranging from the usual odious, rat-stuffed tunnels to a breathtaking island that offers a relaxing diversion from the usual dank corridors. Throughout it all, the relationship between Amicia and Hugo is tested more than ever by alarming discoveries about the legacy of the Prima Macula, all building to one of the most dire, heartbreaking endings that I've ever experienced in a game. If a third Plague Tale is on the way, the action will likely remain no more complicated than apply rock directly to the forehead, but I'm eager to see what comes next for the Darunes and their vermin curse. Everybody loves cats, right? Well, the internet does, at least. And given how many gamers comprise the World Wide Web, it's a marvel how few titles put you in the paws of a feline friend. That changed this year with Stray, a cinematic platformer where you play as a curious orange kitty and their robot buddy. As you hop, sneak, and sprint your way through cyberpunk ruins, the bleak history of your surroundings grows clear, and yet the game never loses its sense of charm and wonder, giving you ample opportunities to claw carpeting or knock cans off of shelves in between chase sequences. Some players were miffed by the price tag relative to its meager length, though having experienced it free through Xbox Game Pass, I can't relate. Regardless of cost, however, this is a delightful little sci-fi journey about the unlikeliest of heroes, because it may be a fallen world, but cats always land on their feet. As I've acknowledged with respect to several entries on this list so far, sometimes less is more. And no one has proven that better for longer than Kirby, for whom every game is typically a straightforward platformer, save for one or two gimmicks. Par for the course most recently was Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Nintendo's annual non-Pokemon first-party release, and honestly one of the best Kirby games I've played in decades. The Switch may not be neck and neck with the rest of the current gen, but the pink puffball and his environs have never looked better, while still retaining the adorable style for which the series is known. Levels are manageably linear yet full of elusive goodies, the music is bop after chipper bop, and in keeping with franchise tradition, the villain behind all of your setbacks wouldn't be out of place in a Resident Evil game. All things considered, we could all use an inoffensive, upbeat little adventure. Being able to swallow an entire car is just a bonus. As a developer, heck, as a storyteller in general, where do you go next after a mystery that you've painstakingly built up has been revealed? The answer? Towards more mysteries. And in the case of Guerrilla Games, the setting sun. Horizon Forbidden West doesn't change much about the gameplay of Horizon Zero Dawn from 5 years ago. You're still checking to-dos off an open-world map, creeping through the tall grass to pick off robo-beasts en route to the next campfire or crafting table. Indeed, the most prominent addition is a portable glider, brazenly lifted from The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in awkward proximity to which its predecessor launched circa 2017. But Forbidden West didn't have to do much new, just to accomplish what it absolutely does. Expanding the world of post-apocalyptic America with new regions, new machines, and compelling reveals about how this world came to be, and the forces that truly threaten it. I played on a PS4, so certain haptic feedback features and blistering fast load times that I'm told make the game stand out on the PS5 eluded me. Still, this was a beautiful, high-octane action game that teased things up for one heck of a futuristic finale. Just, maybe could have done with a little less Aloy monologuing. I've got a lot of problems with God of War Ragnarok. There's cheap deaths aplenty in combat, the shoulder-bound, single-take camera more often shrinks the spectacle of action rather than enhances it, and the script is one of the hottest messes I've ever seen, rife with snarky, atonal dialogue and major events that either happen off-screen or are unceremoniously herded along for dubious reasons. So what is it doing this high up on my list? Well, when the chips are down, I struggled to name another game that both looks this good, plays this well, and boasts performances that wouldn't be out of place in the theaters, all while still not being above having a dedicated fatality button. After a proportionate time jump since 2018's soft reboot, Ragnarok presents a Kratos and Atreus who are closer and yet further apart than ever. A father who wants to maintain the safety he believes he's finally secured for his progeny, and a son weathering teenage rebelliousness, a search for meaning, and a puberty-adjacent tendency to turn into a wolf. Along the way, they travel to all 9 realms, acquire a bigger arsenal than ever, and thrash all kinds of new gods and monsters, including but not limited to Richard Schiff as probably the most unique interpretation of Odin ever committed to the screen. It's gorgeous, it's gory, and the wide linear format is in finer form than ever, producing clustered overworlds teeming with fun side activities, memorable characters, and cool loot. Rumor has it that this marks the end of the Ghost of Sparta saga. If so, I won't lie and say I'm happy with how his story concluded, but in the heat of battle, one hell of a wild ride. On the American cartridge for The Legend of Zelda from 1986, beneath the logo, there's a single sentence. Experience the challenge of endless adventure. I was born in 1991 and didn't start playing games in earnest until the late 90s, so by the time I saw those words, the declaration felt positively quaint. The boast of one game among many in a collection passed down by my parents, already growing glitchy with age. As I dove into later entries, high fantasy worlds of increasing scope, from The Wind Waker to Twilight Princess, I'd recall that phrase fondly, not just as a tagline, but a goal. A state of mind that I coveted, but if pressed, would likely admit that no game could ever sustain. That was until 2022, when From Software, responsible for Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and several broken PlayStation controllers in my closet, debuted Elden Ring. While the studio's latest medieval masochism sim was initially promoted as a collab with professional procrastinator George R.R. Martin, director Hidetaka Miyazaki's cryptic world-building still reigns supreme, and now more than ever, literally. With the lands between, Elden Ring turns the bog-standard open world of many a Ubisoft clone into a sweeping, engrossing kingdom full to bursting with secret caves, formidable monsters, and discoveries that no nagging NPC or glaring map marker will deign to tell you. This place is yours to explore, and die horribly and stupidly in, yes, with frequency, but the prevailing feeling as you ride your spectral steed over the crest of a rubble-clotted hill or through a pungent, bloody swamp is discovery. Not, better see what that is, but I gotta see what that is. At 90 hours of gameplay, at 100, at 130, I was still finding new areas, and I hadn't even beaten the game yet. I have the player's guide on my shelf, and the inevitable DLC may not be out yet as of this recording, but if you told me that this game went on forever, that there would always be another dungeon, another chest full of rare armor, another convoluted questline that ends with you getting teleported to an alternate plane of existence to fight a dragon that shoots lightning, I'd believe you. Because for all of its janky moments and confusing storytelling, with Elden Ring, you finally really do experience the challenge of endless adventure. And that's it for 2022. I say top games, not the best games, because there could be even better ones I haven't played, and regardless, it's not my place to declare that my personal interests represent some objective or even subjective metric by which you should judge your own preferences. This is just some stuff that I thought was cool for the last 365 days. And if you did as well, that's cool too.